Thank you very much. Moving on to item number 17, professional service agreement with MBK Engineers for a 100-year base flood elevation map for the Sutter Basin in the vicinity of Yuba City, presented by Diana Langley, our Public Works Director.
Good
Diana.
evening. Good evening, Mayor, Council. So the purpose of this item is to determine the 100-year base flood elevation for the city's sphere of influence in the interest of providing the best available information to the Federal Emergency Management Agency, so FEMA, for the future flood insurance rate map update process. For a little bit of background, in November 2014, the City Council awarded a contract to MBK Engineers, which Don True with MBK is here tonight in the audience towards the back, to prepare 200-year base flood elevation maps for the city's sphere of influence. The purpose of those maps was to support the urban level protection process that's required through the state. So separate from the urban level protection process is FEMA's process for creating the flood insurance rate maps. So when you purchase a home, if you're getting a loan, the insurance agent calls to find out which, if you're in a special hazard area, and if you are, then you would pay a different insurance than you would if you were outside the special hazard area. So the flood insurance rate map becomes the official map of the community. The city's current firm has an effective date of March 1984. So long time ago. Many things have changed since then. But on the positive side, FEMA has delayed remapping the city for all of these years, which has helped us to work with Cibifca to put the levee improvements in place so that when they do remap us, those improvements are in place. So it's anticipated with the completion of Cibifca's Feather River West Levee project, FEMA will begin the process to remap the city. So again, it's important to distinguish, why did we prepare 200-year base flood elevation maps? That was related to the ULOP process. The 100-year base flood elevation maps would be related to FEMA's process to remap the city. Cibifca has prepared preliminary 100-year floodplain maps with the intent of submittal to FEMA. Staff is recommending that we hire MBK to prepare 100-year base flood elevation maps for the city's sphere of influence, and there's a couple reasons for that. MBK, number one, prepared our 200-year base flood elevation maps, so it would provide consistency with those 200-year maps. Number two, they would utilize updated hydrology and advanced hydraulic modeling software that has the potential to change the base flood elevation in the Sutter Basin. So why is this so important? With Yuba City being relatively flat, you have about a 1-foot elevation drop per mile. And so for every inch that you can decrease the base flood elevation map, those are properties that are not being mapped into the 100-year floodplain. And so when you have property owners that are purchasing properties and going to determine whether or not they need flood insurance, inches count significantly in terms of what will be or will not be mapped into the floodplain. So in order to provide the best possible outcome for property owners within the city's sphere of influence, staff recommends contracting with MBK to prepare the 100-year base flood elevation map with the intent that the city would then submit that to FEMA for mapping of the city. The additional recommendation is to authorize the finance director to make a supplemental appropriation of $80,000 from the levy impact fee that's been collected throughout these years. There's approximately $1 million available at this time to fund the mapping. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Questions of Diana?
Diana, once we do this, then would these maps be given to Cibifca for them to approve, or their maps can be different than ours and it doesn't really matter? Or
their maps could be different than ours. We would provide the information to Cibifca, but if these maps were in the city's favor, as they could potentially be, then we would recommend that our maps be utilized to be submitted to FEMA for the mapping purposes.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Question?
No question, but thank you for moving forward with this. Having been a certified floodplain manager with FEMA, as you know, they highly recommend that communities do take this tact, even if other processes are going on with a larger group, to get the fine details, as you're saying, for these areas, because some of the communities, they don't just go slope straight down. There are areas in the city that are higher and lower, and this will give the detail that is needed to best benefit the community and the citizens on their property. So they actually do recommend a higher level if we're willing to, and for $80,000, that's a bargain.
Any other questions? So, seeing no more, I do have a question. So, Diana, this expenditure would also benefit either in or out the annexed area that's being referred to as a keyhole?
Yes, because it's currently within the city's sphere of influence.
Okay, so that's an expenditure by the city that would benefit others. Okay.
Correct.
Action from the council.
Through the mayor,
Go ahead.
I'd like to move for approval of the item.
Second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.